Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joshua, and this is episode 3 of the Rene Burchell's Realtor brand video series. Okay, so we've gone through episode 1, we did research. Episode 2, we talked about the stylescape, and I designed stylescape for you. I hope you enjoyed that video. Now, this is episode 3, and we will be designing the logo, right? So, the logo, as you know, is what identifies the brand on everything, everywhere. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to come up here and let you know, first of all, what my process looks like. And the second thing I want to let you know is what you should be looking out for when you are designing a logo, right? So we have gone through our research phase. We've gone through the stylescape as well. So we kind of already have an idea. I already have an idea of what the logo should be. But keep in mind, however, that your logo is not supposed to be telling any story. It's not supposed to be telling any brand story. However, it's not a crime if it does, because there are a lot of logos on Instagram, on Pinterest, on everywhere online where you would see people make visual puns out of, and even in real life, people try to add meanings to logo. It's okay for your logo to have a meaning. It should most importantly have a direction, not necessarily a clever play on object or on word. Not necessarily. You don't necessarily need that. So always keep in mind that your logo is just meant to identify. It's not meant to explain what the product is or who the product is or what the brand does in entirety. So this way you can focus on keeping your logo simple and clear and straight to the point. Your logo, however, doesn't necessarily need to be minimal. Okay, I see that a lot. Younger designers always get into the whole idea that all logos should be minimal, and I strongly disagree. It should be minimal or maximal based on whatever industry or whatever brand you are working with, depending on the kind of look they are trying to achieve with the entire brand system. But enough of that. What's my logo process like? I'll be very honest with you. It's a very, very ugly process, right? So it's not, I've seen better processes online where people get their rulers and their pencils and they have grid books and everything. They draw almost perfect logos, almost perfect sketches. I suck at sketching, as you are going to see in the video as we move along. I suck at sketching. I suck at drawing artistic things, but I have my ideas in my head. So I start with my research, obviously. Even for the logo design, I start with research. I want to get inspiration from everywhere behind, you know, everything I've mentioned before. So all these sites, I go to them and look for concepts, look for ideas, look for something that I can get inspiration off of before I even start sketching. And even when I start sketching, I still try to go back, especially when I'm stuck or I'm not making any headway. Now, for this particular one, I already know I want to create a letter mark to use maybe the R or the B, but the previous logo that she has is this logo with the R inside of it and the thing, this starry circle outside of it. My critique of this logo is this. It's not a terrible symbol, I'm going to be honest, but first of all, uh it lacks presence, whatever that means, right? But let me explain. So when you look at this logo from 1 meter away or something, you don't it doesn't speak for itself in terms of its presence, basically. Like I said, it's not necessarily supposed to tell you what the brand does, but you should look at the logo and know that this is a logo, right? You should know that this represents a brand. And when you see the logo somewhere else, you should be able to recognize it. You should be able to put two and two together and remember that you've seen this logo before. So this is not a very memorable logo. It's just an R that seems like, I'm not sure if this was drawn, hand drawn by the designer who designed this, but I'm willing to bet that it wasn't. No disrespect to anybody. There is so much going on, especially with the R, the circle, then the all caps being a different font as well from the experience, luxury, real estate services, and none of these elements are connecting quite as well for me. For Rene, we know that she's been a realtor since 2002. I didn't mention this. She actually obtained a license in 1992, but For 10 years, she has been working with corporate on some other things. So in 2002, she started helping people find their homes, and you know, she set on the career that she's currently working on to this day. So that logo should probably feel a little more, should feel a little more historic, should feel a little more personal, and we already know this about the brand, that we know the brand is trustworthy, we know the brand is certified, we know the brand is very qualified, so we want that logo to have that look, right? That confident but approachable look. So we're going to get started right now. Like I said, my process is not very straightforward. Sometimes I sketch and do some research, and sketch and do some research, but in this video I'm just going to show you everything as if it was a linear process. So I'm going to do my research, which you can see me showing on the screen right now. Then I'm going to sketch, and after sketching, I refine my sketches on paper first. I try as much as possible, especially when I find that idea that I'm looking for. I try as much as possible to sketch it on paper first, like to perfect it on paper as much as I can. Then I go into Photoshop and refine it further before I begin to use my grid system to draw the entire thing again from scratch, if that makes sense. So let's dive. Okay, so let me explain what I'm doing right now. It's just a line drawing of the letter connection. I know in my mind that I'm going to create a serif monogram. The reason is because of the fonts we chose before during our research and stylescape process. I'll get on that in a little bit. But I already know in my mind that I want to create a serif monogram, a serif lettermark. So rather than waste my time and try to perfect each idea as they come along in terms of how the letters connect together, I just draw a line representation of them. And once I find that idea that I really like, as you would see soon, I double down on it and realize it in the full serif glory. Okay, so I want to take you guys through what it is that I'm thinking here actually, what my thought process is, why I'm reiterating this. As you can notice, I am just narrating this video. I'm not talking as I am walking, but I just felt like this is a good time to pause and tell you what I'm thinking, right? So from here, I was trying to, this stroke is not consistent with this stroke. It looks thinner. So, and it's somehow weird. So I was trying to, that was why I did these grid lines at first, so that I could, figure out how to make this stroke align with each other. And then this part, when you take a brush, assuming you are drawing with a brush right now, what can I use? Let's say you are drawing with, let's say this tip is my brush, for example, right? If I were to draw this line, it's supposed to go something like this, and this down part is supposed to be thinner. So the idea is that this is being drawn by brush. So this part of the stroke, the horizontal part of the strokes, is usually thinner. You would see it's common in sans serif typefaces, which is kind of like the style that we're going for here. So you will notice that this part of it is supposed to be thinner. So I was wondering, not just wondering, it's obvious that this part of my stroke is not as thin as this part. So I just wanted to see how much I can refine that and get rid of that before I go back on to working on the system. Also, I was wondering if this part, this stroke here, is a little too thick, right, compared to this one. I know the sense is that this B is supposed to be a bit bigger because it's not sharing the same cap height with her. It's a larger cap height, so naturally it should be bigger, but is it a little bit too big? So that's why I'm like, you're trying to see what I can do about that here. But we'll be going into the system to refine it. Either way, we can't, I personally, I can't be as perfect on paper. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention, as you would see from when I'm working on the laptop, is that I'm trying to make sure that this typeface, you can see the serif style that I'm drawing, it's not hard edged. If I want to do like a hard edged serif, I'll probably have something like this, something sharp here, coming all the way down, and something like a D dot. If you remember, if you know these fonts called D dot, it's a modern serif typeface. But what I'm trying to do, if you remember from the last episode that we did during the stylescape, I picked a font out, and the font had this vibe to it because part of what we are trying to do is to portray a sense of trust, a sense of expertise and friendliness at the same time. We don't want it to feel cheap, neither do we want it to feel too expensive or too refined, if that makes sense. I know that this direction may seem a little bit luxurious, but how I'm planning to compensate for that is by softening the edges of the serif. If you notice the font I picked as well, I'll show you that on when we go back to the laptop. The font I picked as well had softer serif edges, and they weren't as sharp. So that, and I'm also trying to introduce some natural flows, like some, maybe not natural, maybe natural is not the word, but I just don't want it to feel too rigid or too restrained or too restricted. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. We're going to get back to work now. I think the question we're probably both asking ourselves right now is, does this look better? Probably not, I'll be honest. This one probably looks cleaner than this, but This has helped me visualize how some things will be if I align them, and if whether I really want to. So there's like a few challenges that I'm seeing right now. So when I was trying to measure the thickness of these strokes and align them to this particular one, I used that same thickness for this space here, and it's already giving me some problem. Like I feel like this part should probably close up a little bit. Reason be because of this negative space here. This negative space here is a curve, right? So being a curve, it's not as it doesn't give you the sense that it's as wide as this. So rather than enlarge this, I'd rather close this up to make everything come a little tighter. So apart from that, I don't know if I'm noticing any issues yet. So that's as far as my expertise goes on this issue, in this subject. One other thing I wanted to probably point out before we go back into refining this is that when I made a post about this on my Instagram, actually, so for those of you follow me on my Instagram page, you may have seen it, is the issue of overhang. Let me just go over that again, right? So if this part had a flat edge, a flat, like something like this, if it was flat, I probably would have put it on the same line as this, right? But it's not, so I'm descending it. Like I'm giving it that little overhang. This is probably a lot of space, and it's because of the flow of this, the leg of the R, right? I call it the leg. I think this is called the bowl of the B, because typography, anatomy. Hold on, let me Google that real quick. Well, yeah, I think that's what it's called. It's called the bowl, right, of the letter B. So because of that flow between this and this, right, it's like this was already coming down. So you just want to, rather than break it here and have that awkward space, the R itself usually, sometimes, especially when you're working with font like this, it usually descends lower. If you're doing something like, usually sort of descend lower than the baseline generally. So you want to continue that fashion. And so what I'm saying generally is this: if I were to be drawing a B in this exact same cap height is the distance from the top of the capital letter to the bottom of the capital letter, right? If I were to be drawing the same, if I were drawing the letter B in this same height, the overhang that I'll be giving it will probably not be this much. It will probably just be something a little, the entire stroke will not be descending this low, but because this is bigger and this was dropping low, so I just sort of went with the flow. That should make sense. So let's go back in the system. video, we made a logo, we made a very, actually I'm pretty confident in the results. I love where I came to in the end. So I've tidied it up, as you can see, and it should be on my Instagram already by the time I'm recording this, by the time you're watching this video. So I only have a black and white version for now because I strictly made this process just the logo process. I mean this video, just the logo video. So in the next video, we are going to insert color, make mockups, and there are things that you should take note of when you are creating mockups. So forgive me that this is taking a week difference for you to watch as at this point, but I'm guessing that if you're watching much later in the future, I'm intentionally structuring these videos in a way that you can have a mini course to yourself on how to design a brand identity system. So I'm hoping you're having fun, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Let's go. That thing was whack. What the hell was that?